Good afternoon. It's a Monday. Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. My name's Kevin Graham, and as usual on a Monday, I'm joined by Russell Boyce, who's in the mothership today, and Anthony Haggerty. You're right, lads. What's going on there?
You're right.
All right, eh?
I think at ACSOM we're on to social justice, and we're all into looking at good causes and stuff like that, eh? So basically, today, I want to talk about something. You may have seen on social media, there's been a lot of concern over a guy called Terry Monroe, and there's been people asking where he is in that. Now it seems to be that Terry Monroe's been missing for August, and he's had a lot of internal problems, and this hanged in August there, but we're really quite worried about where he is. But Terry, see if we've been truthful, Terry's never been the same since his wife June died on February the 14th, 2012. June had her own problems. I mean, she was always looking at her next door neighbours, and she got herself into loads of debt trying to keep up with her next door neighbours and trying to better them. So I'm just worried about Terry. And if anybody sees Terry, please get in touch with Peter Wall, Kerrydale Street at Celtic Park. Lads, what's happening? What's happening today, Russell?
Not a lot, mate. As you say, I'm in the mothership, mate. Just scoping out the home base, mate. I get Mondays off, so I thought, why not come down with the gaffer and have a wee scope about, man. So it's cool to be here, and it does feel a wee bit different, not just looking square on at my cooking. I now get my cheekbones all highlighted as well as Paul John Dykes does. So life's good, mate.
I was just thinking of the high chair there, Kevin.
Aye, I've got a wee partner here with me today. It's like Xander Clark coming up for a corner kick. He's sneaking into the background there.
He's behind you.
He's behind you. I think that today, I mean, the football gods have sometimes got a way of making things happy for yourself and stuff like that, But I think over this season, we've had our worst season in 20 years. And, it just shows you how great the last 4 seasons has been for us, how difficult it is to do, to actually win the last 12 trophies that have actually been going. And I don't think that'll ever been taken away from us. What do you think, Tony?
You listen, in any competition, as Rangers found out yesterday, you're a bounce of a ball away from being knocked out, or, as Rangers were forced into extra time when they thought the game was done. So to win 12 on the spin, it's a phenomenal achievement, and it will be regarded even more so in time to come. But to win 12 on the spin is incredible, and to win the cup competitions as well. Because I say you're a decision, a bounce of a ball, a free kick, a 30-yarder, an own goal away from going out in one-off competitions, or penalty kicks, whatever. So the amount of consistency that Celtic showed over those 4 trebles is absolutely incredible. You do have to hand it to them. And yourself, it's not easy to win any competition. People think it is. When Celtic lost last week, everyone was saying, that's Rangers' trophy. Hand them the trophy now. But that just other clubs have a big say in that. Now you look at the competition now, and from a neutral perspective, it's wonderful for the likes of Kilmarnock, St Mirren, Dundee United, Hibs, St Johnstone. They all think they can win it now, and they'll all go and try and win it. That's more to the point. They've nothing to lose now. So, and again, it'll be another winner on the famous trophy, and it's quite refreshing. If Celtic don't win it, which we all want them to do, then you always hope that it's some other club that gets that glory and the joy. And the saddest thing about it all is they won't have a lot of their fans in to see it. Like St Johnstone did with the League Cup, and the fans weren't there. That's the worst thing about this season. But fair play to them. They did their job, and it does highlight how hard it is to win trebles, doubles, whatever you want to call it. It's a difficult task.
I mean, my friend Duncan, he's a Dundee United fan, and my friend Fraser, he's a St Johnstone fan. And I messaged them last night, and they were both buzzing they have got a gooder chance of winning that cup than as anybody left now, and they were really, really excited, especially the St Johnstone fan. I mean, they've already won the League Cup this season, and so they're going for a cup double. St Johnstone going for a cup double.
You put it past them to do the cup double.
I think Callum Davison showed himself to be quite an astute manager so far with the resources that he's actually got. Russell, what do you think? You were a bit vocal on the Twitter last night. No, when I say vocal, you were a bit blunt. You actually went in with a baseball bat.
That's it, mate. Well, I just think it's so easy just for, the amazing achievements that we've done over the last 4 years to be dismissed. We were getting told that it was an asterisk 9 in a row. We were getting told that the trebles were easy when there wasn't a strong competition from the other side of the city. Celtic, to me, have put it on a plate, this season, all three tournaments with, a meek performance last week with just a non-attempt at all at trying to win the league title itself, and then by going out at home to Ross County in the League Cup. It was all there for them. They've not done it, and I see a team with the exact same traits that they've always had. To be perfectly honest to you, and I think it does highlight what an amazing achievement it is to have won the trebles that we did. Obviously, only rounded off in December as well. Remember, so it's not too far back. We have to look for the last trophy that we lifted as part of that quadruple treble, and I think, like Tony says, over time it's going to look like a better and better achievement all the time. It's going to look so much bigger than perhaps we're guilty of when it's happening in the moment, to be taking it for granted, and I suppose the fact that we've not won anything this year, and then the fact that they've blown it in the other two competitions is probably going to assure that for the next, I'd like to think the next good few years anyway, we don't take any trophy that we win for granted, and we make sure that we celebrate them properly and acknowledge them properly as well. Do you know what I mean? Because trebles ain't easy.
They're not easy. And I remember saying just before Brendan Rodgers left, we were in the studio in Stirling with Declan and Aaron Boyle. And I says I was more impressed that we were going for a treble than actually winning those league titles in a row. Because as Tony actually says, your one bad decision, one wrong bounce ball, from going out to a cup competition, you didn't get any second chances. And it's amazing that you had such a level of professionalism that we won 35, 36 cup games in a row. David 947 64368. I wonder if that's his phone number. If that was a Rodgers team, they would have swallowed up that cup up. And that was the one thing I thought last night. At 10 o'clock last night, I went, you have to take your hat off to the professionalism of Brendan Rodgers' Celtic. When they done their invincible season, that they kept on going, then to do the double treble, then to get that far down to the treble as well. Brendan Rodgers had that team as a machine who didn't seem to have an off day, and you've got to tip your hat to Brendan for that. What do you think, Tony?
No, listen, I've said it before. Brendan Rodgers' tenure at Celtic will be borne out over time, right? The knee-jerk reaction to the way he left and when he left, it was all about timing. But you can't tell me that he's not the second most successful manager in the club's history, because he is. The stats bear it out. Mm-hmm. And we will reflect upon his period at the club in years to come as halcyon days, because you did nothing but enjoy his time there. You won everything, and you won, what was it? I think it was 13 out of 14 or 12 out of 14 Rangers games. 1 loss, 1 draw. I think somebody might correct me on that.
I think that's about right.
Aye. So I mean, and there was 2 5-1s, a 5-0, a 4-0 semi-final. You lorded it over, and people can say Rangers were poor, they won this, they won that. You can only beat what's put in front of you all the time. Going back to Rangers 9 in a row, Celtic were ranked rotten.
Finishing fourth in that.
Hibs finished second and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you can manipulate stats to suit, or manipulate periods in history to suit whenever you want. So you can only beat what's in front of you. So Brendan Rodgers' time, I mean, I defy anybody, unless you were in Lisbon, right? Tom Rodgick's goal against Aberdeen to seal the invincible trebles up there in you and I lifetime. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not Lisbon, right? It's not a European final. Granted, but it's a monumental achievement in the club's history. And if you were there that day and the thunder came and then the lightning when the ball went in the net, I mean, it's a glorious moment in time if you're a Celtic supporter. I wrote about it in my book, and I had 21 years of being a journalist and being in press boxes and being pretty au fait about these things. My nephew said the best part of being there beside me was the fact that I lost it. I just completely and utterly lost it. You know, Tasmanian Devil meets Yosemite Sam. Only anywhere close to how Radio Rental I went. Right, just because I knew that's a moment in time in history that will never be repeated. Right, now, I'm not comparing Tom Rodgers' goal to Lisbon. I'm comparing the moment in time and the achievements. You know, I mean, obviously, Lisbon eclipses anything at Celtic level doing their history. But as another moment in history, I mean, my dad was around at Lisbon and he said it's up there. You know, it's just an achievement because it's something you thought you would never ever see. To go through a whole season unbeaten and win everything. I mean, you're a betting man. I'm a betting man. That will never happen again. That will never happen again.
I know it wasn't, and I was there that day as well, eh? And after that goal, I was still shaking 9 minutes later. When Scott Brown went up to pick up the cup, I was still physically shaking, and it was as one of them. It's the best moment. It's up there with John Hartson's goal at Anfield for me. As a
special, you know, when you witness something special, you turn around and you think, "Wow, did I just see that?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's when you know you witness something special. When you know you probably think, "I'll never see this again." You know, probably stood in Seville and thought, "I'm never going to see this again," which is why it hurt so much when they lost.
That's fair. I think as well. I think it's right now. I think what happened last night, it's like a time for reflection now, almost a wee bit as well. Do you know what I mean? It kind of puts things in perspective a wee bit that, you know, this season has been Celtic's own downfall a lot. We have to give praise for how they've went about their league challenge. I think they've done really, really well, but we've never laid a glove. You know, we've never laid a glove all season. There's been not 1 ounce of pressure put on them whatsoever. And what I've seen in the cup ties, and we take the Kamara incident aside because that was disgusting, but the Rangers players by then had already lost their heads going out of cup competition. They buckled under the pressure yesterday when they only had to hang on for 5 minutes. You know, they didn't mark a keeper who's standing a fluorescent top. You know what I mean? It's about 6'6". I think when they've got pressure on them, they still have the same traits that they had the couple of years before. And I think when we look back at this season, I think it could be one that we look at with a lot of disappointment, but we also, hopefully anyway, over the next few years, look at it as a one-off.
Do you agree with that, Tony? Do you think that's where the Celtic fans this morning have maybe changed their opinion of this season and we're now in a more reflective mood looking back at those quadruple trebles?
I think when you're looking back at what was achieved by Celtic, yeah. But I think you have to turn around and say, like, the best team have won the league this season. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, definitely. Of course.
It might pain people to say that. And also, they've had the pressure of leading from the front. That's no mean achievement either. You know, people say that brings its own pressure. And they've won it at a canter. You cannot deny that.
No,
of course.
You know, so, and they've did that well. Now, but again, there's a fragility there. I think most people are seeing, Celtic fans are seeing a slight fragility about Rangers, which they would like to have seen had they laid a glove on them, as Russell said. And so when you're reflecting, you think, we never ever got close to them, but which was a level of their consistency. We always had these games in hand, but we never ever get near them.
No.
You know, because they just kept steamrolling on and knocking the games down like Skittles. So you have to hand it to Rangers for that. They've shown an incredible amount of consistency over the league campaign, but there's been a bit of fragility there, which Celtic have never, to Celtic's shame really, they've never been that close or close enough to them to exploit. So you'll never ever know if Rangers would have blown a gasket at any point during this league campaign, because they were just surging on and surging on. We'll catch them later, and they've rode off into the distance. So, and that's what's annoying the Celtic fans, because they might have been there to be got at.
It is annoying, but we can't worry about it because it never happened. Because and we're not responsible for that not happening. There's people who are responsible, who are still hanging about the club, who are still basically failing to make decisions at this precise moment in time for us to move on.
In the nature of one-off competition, you can have a go. St Mirren did, and Paisley, St Johnstone did yesterday. So you saw what happened. And to Celtic's shame last week, had they shown the same passion and fervour that both St Mirren and St Johnstone showed in their respective cup ties, they might have got a bit of joy themselves at any point in the games against Rangers this season, but it didn't. So
the only regret I've got about last week is I think the missed chances that we had. Because when you see St Johnstone equalising last night in the 121st minute, they had the desire to get back into the game. If we had scored that penalty with 10 minutes to go, I would love to have seen us have a go in that last 10 minutes. Because the pressure's off at that point. Go, right, just go forward. You says last week, Tony, they would have just upped it and went, but we don't know that. But I've got no... When you go, Tony, sorry.
No, carry on, sorry.
That's only regret that I had about last week. It doesn't matter how poor we were for the whole game. We had an opportunity. We had chances in that game to actually try and make a game of it, and we never took them. And that's what more annoyed me.
In that game for me was Edward trying to. I don't know what he was trying. Russell spoke about it. Trying the ultimate showboat goal instead of just sticking the ball in the net, and that was right at the start of the second half.
That was frustrating, that.
And I genuinely don't know what he was trying. I'd have hauled him off for that, to be honest. That was a Balotelli moment. Remember Balotelli on tour? He tried that pirouette.
That's right. Yeah.
Stop acting the goat. I would have said, I'd have done the same to Edward last week after that and put Griffiths on then and said, nah, I'm not having that. Because that was a bread and butter chance to burst the net, and he tried to be far too clever in a season when he knew people were hanging on to that was your last chance of silverware, and he acts like that. I thought that was unprofessional of Eddie. Jim said he chucked it at Tannadice, but if ever there was a message to say he was chucked it and his mind's elsewhere, it was that moment there, microcosmic of Eddie's season. And I wasn't annoyed at him for the penalty. I just didn't fancy him for the penalty. I was more annoyed at that chance, because that stuck to me as someone who was just being as unprofessional as you could be. Eddie has taken those chances ever since he turned up at Celtic Park, and it was just inexplicable what he did. And as I say, I would have hauled him off as a statement of intent, saying, no, not good enough. I don't care. Just that's unacceptable for a professional footballer to do that.
I'm going to play a wee bit of devil's advocate here and maybe be a bit over-exaggerated, but I'm a creative person, so I get to use poetic license at certain time. Who blew it bigger, Devon, Lock or Celtic? Russell.
He's going to ask you who Devon Lock is, isn't he?
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Tony, you better answer that then. I maybe showed my age there.
Have you ever seen the black and white clip of a horse who's about to win a race at a canter, and as it's coasting towards the finishing line, it just falls?
Oh, right, okay.
The race is a black and white clip. You'll have seen it many times. That's Devon Lock. So
right.
Now you can answer the question.
Aye, right. Thanks for that, Uncle Tony. I appreciate it, mate. You keep me right, big man. I appreciate it.
Is he no feather? Do we not get to call him feather now?
King John Lennon or something or the Reggie whatever. Anyone respects, basically.
I think for the description that Tony's gave, though, I mean, at least that horse made it to the final furlong. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we got anywhere near that. Do you know what I mean? This is not we got out the traps. You know what I mean? If it's just been a disaster from start to finish, that hopefully there's going to be, now, and it is quite sad, but at the end of the day, it is a two-horse race that we operate, and we were talking about that yesterday in the women's pod. It is the men's game is a two-horse race, and when you see one of the other horses sort of faltering a wee bit, I mean, I appreciate in the league they've won at a canter, I get that. But when you see them falter yesterday, and then you look back at the St Mirren one as well, and you kind of got to take a wee bit of hope for that next year, if we get the things that we've all discussed have been wrong, right? Do you know what I mean? All those things that have went wrong. And let's be honest, there are plans in place to do that. Obviously, the managerial thing we'll get to, but we've got a new CEO in. Lawwell's doing the hokey cokey. He's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I think they know. I don't know whether he's coming or going. But we've got to be taking hope from the fact that it might not be as big a gap as what we thought, albeit in the league the points gap is monumental and it looks really bad. I'm still seeing other sides from the other side of the city that suggest to me if we can get our house together and in order at the earliest possible date, and we can get a recruitment drive that's fitting of Celtic for the first time in, I don't know how long it's been since we've done a recruitment drive that actually seems to be on a timescale that suits the Champions League qualifiers. Let's not forget, we've got an opportunity this season to try and get the foundations in place for next season, right? Early bells. But we've got a chance to actually make that 35 million bounty as well. We've got a chance to do that this season, not just about finishing first next year. You know, if we can get that sort of money and then you've still got, a month left of your window, let's start trying to be, proactive about these things instead of waiting until we go to the Champions League and deciding the manager's only got a £5 to spend. It's just, we can't afford to do that this campaign. I just think that if there is going to be a change for the top going down, then I think that we might have a better chance than what the league table suggests in turning this round.
I think to use a horse racing metaphor, if we were a horse, we've been full of ketamine all season. We haven't actually moved anywhere. I'm going to bring in 2 comments here. Francie WLU, we have to get over losing our league title now and look forward to the challenge of winning it back. I agree with that. I think we've got to move on now, and I think today's a good day to actually eventually do move on. And who was the other one? That's just disappeared. The dude Abid. The gap is huge, man. What nonsense. We ain't beat them in ages. And what might happen, we might not beat them on Sunday. But then we've got to move on. We've got to say change is coming. When it's going to come, and we've got to have faith in that change. Mm-hmm. It might not work out. And we might not beat them on Sunday. We might not beat them against this season. They might go through the league season unbeaten. But we're football fans. It's the hope it keeps us coming back, left, right and centre. What do you think, Tony?
I just want to know what bus Russell's on, because he's been on many a bus this season. Mm-hmm. In fact, he's been on more buses than the Clown and the Wolfman and Wrestler Nators. You know what I mean? He's been on the Key bus, the Mourinho bus, the Howe bus. He was on the Alonso bus yesterday, wasn't he? Turned up one of these bulletins like a bouncer. A bouncer for the early learning centre. You know what I mean? Are we on the Howe bus here, Russell? Is that are you kind of?
No. I mean, like as I've said, I was on the Howe bus very early on. Very early on. My point is, I just worry that if it's not going to be him, that nobody's willing to go in the other bus, and then we start off on a bad foot. Whereas I'm opening the doors to all the buses and saying, look, if we don't get Eddie Howe, you're all still welcome to join the bus. But I'm just saying I got in there first, that's all. And I've got the keys in the engine for numerous buses. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if we put all our eggs in one basket with Howe, I believe that we are setting the next manager, if it wasn't to be him, off on a negative footing, because we're all going, it's no Howe, it was the second best option. So I'll do my best to talk up all the potential buses that can be driven.
Advert City Lincoln, smart thinking. These two other buses. No, I do. I agree with you, Kev. We do have to move on and get over it, and we haven't. But it's part of the healing process to kind of pour over things that maybe cause you grief, and this season's caused the supporters grief, and a lot of it. But I think, as you say, it's that optimism, that wave of optimism that we hope's coming. And we were speaking off air, myself and Russell, before you come on, and I said, I keep saying it, but surely there's days when there've been a great boost to everybody. Today's another one of those days that would have been a great boost to announce the manager if they have him in place, or if they have. When sit you and tell people what's happening. Friday before they go to Ibrox on Sunday, another good day to do it. I don't know what the hold-up is, and that's what worries you about the Howe thing. But our intelligence believes is that Howe is going to be the new manager of Celtic. That's what we're leading to believe. And also, I've got a tenner at 16s. That's for me, to be honest. You know what I mean?
As you tell me on Saturday night. As you tell me on Saturday night, Tony, with 8 minutes to go in the Hibs game, believe in the cosmos. Believe in the cosmos is going to happen.
The cosmos is going to happen. So
that was amazing.
You know, so yeah, if it's Howe, then that. I mean, you speak to any Celtic supporter who talks about Howe, and most of them are, you know, they want that to happen now, and that's part of the healing process, and that will move us on and take us to where we're going to go. And as Russell says, maybe everything might fall into place again next season. It might not be as bad as what people think, you know, but these building blocks have to be there before you can start anything. A new manager of repute has to come in and start this process.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, this season could be worse than last season. We don't know. But we're going into next season with a faith that it's going to be better, eh? That's what it is. Bernadette in the comments, Russell, she says, my dad was a bus driver and hasn't been on as many as Russell.
That's a fair comment.
What can I say?
That is a fair comment, eh? And I think the only one he's got a return ticket for is the Fran Alonso bus. That's the only one that he's got a return ticket
I tell you what, whoever it is that gets the job, they could take a lot from Fran Alonso's sort of demeanour on a touchline. I think that's refreshing to see. And something that we've actually discussed this in the pod quite a few times, the sort of the way that the body language, that's what it's like for, body language of the coaching team, whether it was Neil Lennon with his feet up at one point, whether it was John Kennedy completely nonplussed when things were going terribly and we didn't really feel he was giving much feedback to Lennon, or they weren't really, you know, in much dialogue, and it's just a grim face. The sort of nonplussed look, I think that's, sometimes it's really refreshing just to see a manager embracing with his coaching staff. When players come off, he's subbing one off, so just hug them, you know, pick them up, squeeze them. And I think, you know, it showed. The one thing I thought about the women's team yesterday was they all pull in the same direction, and he is definitely at the forefront of that. And I think that, you know, whoever the next manager is, I would like to see a return as some sort of a Martin O'Neill-esque sort of, you know, firing them in headlocks when they come off and all that. And, you know, he just looks like you can't hear what he's saying, but you get the vibe of you're the best player in the world is almost what he's telling every one of them, you know. And it's just a really positive sort of image to portray. And it's no surprise to me that they were behind at half-time and went on to win that game with someone that motivated at the side, showing so much passion. And obviously, I'm sure he's got a lot of coaching talent as well. I don't know that much about him, but I just thought it was refreshing to see.
The one thing I took from the women's game, Russell, was that either your mum or Ray Charles dressed you.
I've got one of those jackets. I couldn't believe he was wearing it. I was like, well, fair enough. I'm going to get mine out.
But for those who don't know what they're talking about, check out the coverage of the women's game yesterday, and you'll see Russell doing his best Fran Alonso, who actually has a very decent CV as a coach.
Yeah.
You'll see Russell doing his Fran Alonso impression. So we're into this week, and we're now, I can't remember, it feels like we're now months since Neil Lennon left Celtic Football Club. I'm feeling a bit like Jimmy at the end of one of my favourite films, Quadrophenia. He's drove his scooter off the cliff, and he's walking back up for Beachy Head. The man who he thought was the coolest guy in the world has left, and he's just a bellboy in a hotel. That's, for me, that's Brendan Rodgers. He left and went to Leicester. It just shows he's a mercenary. Your girlfriend has left with a guy who's not as good looking as you and has got a worse scooter, and you didn't ken everything that you've lived for. Everything that you've lived for and everything that you chase on a week, everything you thought was real has now disappeared. Yep. So we're walking up for Beachy Head, back onto the road, back to London, and we didn't ken where we're going to go. And this is where I feel like Celtic are at the moment. We've seen, because of the lack of news, we're completely lost. We don't know what the next turn's going to be. And truthfully, I'm getting a bit bored with it. I've now got to the opinion going, just announce something. Just do something to actually move us on. And that's a dangerous headspace to be in, Tony.
I said last week that the worst thing about the Rangers' defeat last week was apathy was creeping in. That's a dangerous place.
Yep.
When apathy creeps in, all sorts can happen, right? So I did say as well that maybe we have to cut the board and Dominic Mackay and members some slack that they're actually doing the right thing. And I'm like you, I'm trusting them to get this right. I'm trusting them that they've done their homework and that Eddie Howe is now pulling strings and that these bids that you're seeing for players are coming via Eddie Howe and others working in the background, right? I am trusting them. And I don't know that they've done anything to earn that trust, but my goodness, see if they're not doing that and whoever's, I don't know who would be making these decisions then, you say, when are they going to start to say, right, this is the way forward, X, Y, Z, or 1, 2, 3, because fans are, people keep saying, the season book renewals are coming out in X amount of weeks or whatever, they need to do something. I mean, the board are fully aware of that. So as you say, they have to give the fans hope, have to give them something to cling to moving forward. And that every week we wake up, or every day we wake up, we think it's the day of reckoning, it's the day of reckoning. And then there's moments, that you think, this would be a good time to do it, this would be a good time to do it.
Yep.
2 and 3 of them have already passed. So you do say to yourself, Kevin, where are we? Where are we on this Beachy Head Road? Exactly where are we?
I know, and it's no worrying. I see people getting themselves completely worried when they read, Howe's no coming, Bournemouth are now in the playoffs, his backroom staff here and that. If Howe's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing we can do to change that. And if it doesn't happen, we need to move on again and support the guy, whoever's there. Stone Cross comes in, Russell. I'll give this question to you.
Right.
What's more important, 4 or 5 quality signings or a big name manager?
Big name manager. Big name manager, because that then you'll get 4 or 5 good signings anyway. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the way it works. And I don't want to exhaust points and all that, but there's 4 or 5 players that could leave that club right now, and you combine their wages, stick that onto whatever it was you were paying Neil Lennon before, and go, let's just get a manager that's worth, if they were willing to come. I mean, we talk about money all the time. Celtics frittered away millions of pounds. You only need to look at what was Brendan Rodgers getting paid, roughly £3 million a year, something like that. Is it as much as that? We don't know. 2.5, £3 million a year.
Who, Neil?
Brendan Rodgers.
Aye, Roger. I think it was just over 2.
Just over £2 million a year. He's a bio.
I think it was, Russell.
No.
2.2. So you look at how many 2.2 millions can we count up? You know what I mean? That have been squandered. And if you want to even put it in a wage bracket sort of thing, I can think of the likes of. In fact, I'm not going to name anyone because it's just unfair, but if you could think of 4 or 5 off the top of your head that if they went to the exit door on the first day, after the season finishes, you wouldn't miss them. And I would be saying, you want a tighter squad with an elite manager in there. The elite, whatever the wage structure is at Celtic right now, I would break it to get the best manager. And if that is Eddie Howe that is available, then do it. Now, if that means that yesterday we were talking on the show about potentially Eddie Howe's going to maybe want a bigger management team with him than what perhaps you would normally have. I think it was something like 17 he had at Bournemouth, and you might be looking at maybe 12, 13 with us. We need to have that aside for the management structure. It's so important. It's the most important aspect of our club going forward. It's going to be that manager and management team below, for me, by a mile.
I've said on previous occasions the most important person in the club is the manager, and he should be your highest paid person in the football department. I'm going to bring in a comment from Monty. Tony being a board apologist today. Trust this board.
Did you listen to what I said? I said you have to trust the board and that they're doing the right things. I never said they were doing the right things. I said I was hoping they were doing the right things.
Yeah, you actually said you didn't. You actually said not that they've given me any reason to as well. Come on, Monty, mate, calm down.
I've had talks with them all season. I was just saying I'm hoping they're doing their due diligence, doing the right thing, and Eddie Howe's pulling some sort of stuff. That's what Monty.
But that's a
Come on, Monty. Calm down, mate.
Calm down. But that's the worst thing about it. We've got nothing but to put our faith in other people. To actually, and when we're looking at the last 18 months, we're going. Paul asked me at halftime in the Aberdeen game, do you trust Peter Law on the Celtic board to make the right decision? And I went, no, I don't. And that's but we've got no other option but to go. We hope that they make the right decision, which is it's like being handcuffed, ain't it? It's like handcuffed to be a club. What do you?
I said a couple of weeks ago that the two most important protagonists in all of this have said nothing about how, and that's how and Celtic, which makes me believe there has to be something in this, because neither nor party have come out and made any statement on it.
Exactly,
right?
Mate.
Oh, hearsay, speculation, but snippets here, snippets there, right? But the two main people in all of this have said nothing. And I said I was trying to connect dots, and I'm connecting the dots. And from my experience, coming from the background that I do, then I'm thinking, right, there's what listening meets the eye. So I think Celtic have gone down a long road with how there's certain guarantees in place, and maybe there's people that can't come at this particular juncture. Maybe there's also the, people are speculating about that Howe's being paid by Bowman until the end of the summer. Fair enough, So, but I'm just kind of a picture in my head of what I think's materialising here. I just think that it would be too late for Celtic, to use a Russell analogy, to jump on another bus. Right? So I think this thing has come too far down the line for it not to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then again, everybody will pile on the board anyway, and then it becomes a late scramble to get somebody in. And then that's when you start worrying about Kevin's, Jack Ross and things like that. Right, so what does it? Jack Ross would be the manager. I'm just talking about that's where Celtic
level
up if they have to scramble about and do a late deal.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you have to trust them in the sense that maybe they are doing it right this time. They've not given you any reason to make you believe and trust them, but it's all we've got at the minute, isn't it? As Kevin said.
See, like you're saying though, Tony, right? And it's right. I think there's definitely. I mean, the fact that they've not spoken. You said that to me one day, and I jumped on that. I thought that makes complete sense. If neither of them have spoke, there must be something in this. But you've got to then. You can't help but as a football fan. Firstly, it's the most impatient business in the world, right? Football, right? So and that is our right as fans. We're allowed to be impatient.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. But you've got to go. This has been 9 weeks now, I think, something like that, since Neil Lennon left. If they are that set, both of them, that this has got arms and legs, how's it not been done yet? Like, what's the worry? I don't want to go down rabbit holes and make up speculation and stuff, but we've also got a right to go, what's the hold up here? And does this reflect well on how? Does this put him? I know he's going to be the most popular choice, but is there going to be the odd fan who's maybe a bit cynical and go, oh, you only came here after you scoped out your options, that's you delayed the deal for ages. It might be rubbish, but that sort of speculation is naturally going to fester when something takes this long in the pipeline. Do you know what I mean? That was just an example, by the way. I'm not saying Eddie Howe is scoping out other options. I'm just saying football fans doing the pub soon, hopefully as well, will speculate that, it was Eddie Howe that held up the deal, or it was Peter Lawwell holding up the deal again. And before you know it, if they have been so set that this was a goer, then whatever those finer details are, let's get them ironed out and let's get the big man in before it becomes an excuse ready-made for not making the Champions League. And they've already got the excuses all lined up. Do you know what I mean?
Fully endorse that.
Thank you. I feel great now. Thanks, Tony, mate.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who comes in, you're going to have to get behind them.
Absolutely.
That's who it is and when it is.
Yep.
It's again, I can't get worried about it. What's going to happen is going to happen. And what Russell's actually saying there, it's a whole thing what we put Neil Lennon down for. If Howe's sitting there going, I want certain guarantees that my own staff are coming in, then, well, what did we say about Neil Lennon? That he took the job right away with certain conditions attached
Yes.
to it. That Ronnie Dyler took the job with certain conditions attached to it. And look, I'm sitting here. I've never been involved in a deal to bring 5-6 guys to a football club who are going to get paid maybe between £1 and £2 million a year. I've never been in that position. So for me, I can't speculate on a position where I've never sat in a room and tried to do that deal.
Yeah, I mean, these things take time, right? And there might be contractual stuff to be ironed out as well. So it takes as long as it takes. But I keep going back to it, and I say that right at the start, you want an appointment, not a disappointment, right? And for it not to be somebody like Eddie Howe now, it would be a major, major disappointment.
I agree. I agree.
So that's why I think that, and the time that it's taken is leading me to believe that it's going to be a person or a manager of that calibre. We can't wipe the rug from under the floor and give you a Jack Rosten or a Steve Clark having supposedly pursued this man all summer.
Well, this is it, and I know you're saying it takes time and that, but see, to be honest with you,
you know, if at the end of the day you weren't getting a good vibe, why would you put yourself, you know, above the parapet like that? So conversations have taken place, and whoever it is has said, yeah, I'll come on the proviso, this, and this happened. And if you want that manager that much, as you said, Kevin, you give him what he wants. Because if you're trusting your man, that this is the man to bring the glory days back, take you into a new era, then you have to say, right, we trust you.
Yes.
What we're going to do, that's our pledge to you. Now your pledge to us is to come and do what you say you're going to do.
See, as well, though, right, and I appreciate what you're saying, it takes time, right, but flip side is, I would argue that managers change all the time and get appointed all the time. I've never known them taking this long, to be fair. Like I see managers getting appointed at clubs right across Scotland, England, the lot. I'm like, 9 weeks. That is a long time between manager and new manager. And I suppose the fact they put Kennedy in there, they thought would just work as a buffer. But at the end of the day, we got knocked out the Scottish Cup. Failed to beat Rangers in the league as well, and have actually fallen further points behind. I think we were when Neil Lennon was there, as albeit we're unbeaten. So that's then going to cause more this impatience thing again. And for me, 9 weeks, I think that's plenty of time, to be honest to you.
But what happens? You look at, let's go to Aberdeen, and they appointed Stephen Glass.
Yep.
Now Stephen Glass. Right, they played well against us last Wednesday night, but we're a team that's been phoning it in since October. Yesterday, they basically got humped by Dundee United. So there's Aberdeen fans already judging Stephen Glass, going, oh, we got beat by a poor Dundee United side. And that's always going to be in the people's back of minds. What happens if Eddie Howe and the Celtic board went, we do not want the new man associated with this season whatsoever?
Sure.
We don't want him associated with this season.
Could you not announce him, though?
You could, but what happens if there's contractual obligations, which mean you can't announce them?
Maybe. That's another one. That's another one of these reasons we're talking about. We don't know.
I'm saying, these are the things that might be happening in the background. Right? You're hoping that's Celtic being switched on.
Yes.
Act like a big club, as I keep saying. Ask questions and act like a big club. So hopefully they've started to do that. You know, so you have to, as you say, give them the benefit of the doubt on this one, but time will tell.
Hey, I didn't trust them, but I've got to have faith in them, which is a completely mind-bending situation to actually be in.
At the same time. But hey, well, we'll see. Because it will tell when the season ticket renewals. If it's not the manager that people want, then, as I said to you before, the top tier will shut again. Tyler-esque, because the fans will just say, no, you're not getting more money. We promised us value for money this season, which never materialised. You know, one team in Glasgow tooled up for the 10, the other sadly didn't. So, you know, the fans this will be the last straw for a lot of people if it's not the manager of repute that they want or someone that they believe can take the club forward and bring back the success and the title at the first time of asking.
Yep. That's absolutely right.
As Russell alluded to at the start, 35 million bounty. There is no time for somebody to come in and have a bedding in period. Somebody has to come in with repute and confidence in their own ability that they can beat one team, because that's basically what you're asking the man to do. Beat Rangers, a rejuvenated, revitalised Rangers, and you should be able to take care of the rest. That's not.
I agree.
That's not a position of arrogance. That's just a position of more or less fact, because that's what's been happening. And you have more money than these clubs, so you should be able to take care of them.
No, I agree with you.
Producer Paul comes in with a comment by Monty. Well done to the Celtic ladies yesterday. Having had a look at Monty's comments over the last week and a half about the Celtic ladies, I think I can actually safely say he's got his tongue firmly in his cheek, actually, when he's typed that. I'm going to bring up another comment here. Well, hopefully Paul has been Mary Ploughboy. Stop kidding yourselves. Peter Law was making a donkeys of appointing a manager. Nothing surprising there, considering how he's done his business in the last couple of years. That could be true.
That's the point. That's what I mean. And it's not because it's not about being negative either, because, you know, I'm not a negative person, but it's like, I think these are the sort of speculations you're going to get right now the longer it does go on, unfortunately. And like I say, we can be positive and say it might be a contractual thing. He already knows they'll be announced, but we can't announce it till X date. Fair dues. But if that is the case, it's frustrating because they can't give us clarity on it. But in the meantime, that is going to let a million different angles of the story, you know, grow arms and legs between fans, because that's fans what they do. You know, they discuss theories, they discuss reasons why it's not happening. He said, she said. You know, it can all end up like that, and that's the downside to it being this long a gap between managers. And
I'll give you another scenario. Celtic win next Sunday and take away Rangers' unbeaten season, then surely another optimal time would be to announce a manager on the Monday.
Yep.
And keep that upward trajectory, right? Now, that might happen. As Kevin said, they might not beat Rangers, and nothing to suggest that they will from the form against them this season. But see if you did that. See if you're a PR machine, you're a big club and you're switched on. That way, you would keep that feel-good factor going, wouldn't you? Or you would at least try. That's the way my mind works, right? Yep. Now, if your mind works like that, your mind works like that, Kevin's mind works like that, how can they not see that? I know they have to go to Ibrox and beat Rangers first, but look at the joy they'll bring to supporters if they shatter Rangers' unbeaten season, winning at Ibrox next week, right? And I'll stress again that it's not going to be an easy feat, because they've not done it for 2 years. They've not beat Rangers for 2 years, so I'm not taking that as a given. But if they do, the feel-good factor you have from that win alone, which takes away that invincibles tag of Rangers being completing an undefeated domestic season,
yep,
going into Monday, then surely somebody up there should be switched on enough to say, this is the optimum time. This is when everybody will clamber over themselves if they say, ladies and gentlemen, it's Eddie Howe, and you watch those season tickets fly out the door.
Yep, I think that's fair.
But Tony, we're dealing with a club whose PR man doesn't answer emails.
Well, that's what I mean. So
that's like.
So then you're not acting like a big club, are you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Act like a big club. Be the club that we all think you are. You know,
we're the biggest small club on the planet.
Well,
and unfortunately, I've seen behind the curtains, and we are the biggest small club on the planet.
But surely, if the three of us can see that, and probably most of the ACSOM listeners can hear it and see that as well, that if that happens, if that eventuality happens next Sunday, I mean, Monday's just, it's a manna from heaven day to announce your new manager. Or else they're going to wait until Rangers get given the league title day, the title celebrations day, and maybe try and do it that day. I don't know. Is that the other thing that's going through their mind, that it buys them more time?
They'll do it when they want our money. That's me just being cynical there. Monty comes back in. Well, I may as well keep on going. I've been cynical all season when it comes to them and getting money off us, so they won't come in when they want our money and tell us who the new manager is. Monty comes in and says, Kev, I'm being 100% serious about the girls, about the Celtic women's team. Stephen Pearson comes in with a comment, and this goes back to Tony's comment regarding the top tier. Season tickets will sell out regardless of what will happen. Now, last week, for me, being a match-going fan, I had the worrying news when Neil Doncaster, Womblehead or whatever we need to call him, came in and actually says that they'd signed a deal with Sky, so season ticket holders are going to see every game again next season.
That's right.
I was worried when I heard that right away, because right away, my wee hamster in my brain's going like that. That means that they know there's not going to be fans in the stadium next season, or there's not going to be full houses in a stadium next season, because they're already planning for showing the games, your virtual season ticket. Yesterday, or it was either Saturday or something like that, Jason Leach, the doctor the dentist for Airdrie, was on Off the Ball saying that you could get some fans in over the next couple of months. The League Cup final in England yesterday had 8,000, and what a difference it was to have 8,000 fans in that stadium yesterday at Wembley. What a difference, just to hear the Spurs fans sing "Dan Levy, Levy, get to France" was amazing, just to have that natural emotion that football fans give. And even the Man City fans singing Blue Moon, even though there was only 2,000 of them. And it was fantastic just to see fans back in the stadium.
Yep.
I'm worried about that, and that will affect season tickets. If there's not a roadmap out, there's going to be people saying, I'm not paying 500 quid to maybe watch 10, 15 games or whatever it is behind on a screen again. What do you think of that, Russell?
No, I think that's true. I think you've hit the nail on the head with the roadmap sort of thing. I think we do need some sort of clarity as to what and I appreciate it can change, but it would at least give you some sort of hope and some sort of belief into what it is you're going to be purchasing exactly. Do you know what I mean? And what sort of realistic sort of timeline you're going to be operating at. Because right now, with no clarity there at all, have fans of all clubs in the SPFL, have they been satisfied with the bang they've got for their buck so far, that they spent last summer? I doubt it. And I happen to think a lot of fans, when they bought season tickets, at all clubs, by the way, when the renewals came out, did it on the premise that we thought there might be supporters in by October, November. Bear in mind, we came out of a lockdown, remember, towards the end of the summer as well. So there was a renewed hope that this wasn't actually going to be a full season thing. Now fans are going to look at it, if there's no fans at the start of the season, or not even an indication as to what they're looking to do, fans are now going to automatically look at it as, it'll be the full season again. Do you know what I mean? Because they're going to have a negative mindset on it, as opposed to last season, it was probably quite optimistic. We'll be back in before the end of the year, so we'll put our faith in it. So yes, I think they do need to. I think the government and the SPFL and SFA, whoever it is, they do need to sort of roadmap some sort of plan of action here and go, look, subject to change, but we are hoping to get 10% in the ground for the opening day of this campaign. The opening day of the campaign's still 3 months away in the league, and I think signs like that would be very encouraging for supporters to get back into buying tickets. But again, I don't know the ins and outs of all that side of things, but I just feel that last year they bought them on the premise it wouldn't be as like a full season thing, and I don't think, we've spoken about value for money and all that, I don't think there's been that much added value.
I would want them to try and get supporters in for the Scottish Cup final.
It'd be a nice sign, wouldn't it?
I'd like them to try that, to see if it's doable, and then that'll be the first sign in your roadmap that you can get X amount of crowd back into a major event or a football match. I've been quite lucky. I'm the Hamilton Accies TV commentator, as you know, and I've been going to games, but I tell you what, it's soulless, it's lifeless. Well, people would argue that it's like that.
You stole my joke, Tony. You stole my joke.
But you know what I mean? It's football, Jim, but not as we know it, right? It's just, it's empty. It's silent. It affects coming out.
Something's happening with the mic.
Nothing there. It's no ideal. So Accies have got 3 games to save their Premiership skins, and there's going to be nobody there to see them try that. That
inspire them, motivate them. It's
that's a big thing. You could lose their their Premiership status. With nobody there to cheer them on as they try and try and save their skins. But that's just an example. But but you saw the League Cup final yesterday. It was great to see fans again, wasn't it? It was, regardless of how little there were inside that massive arena, it was still something. You could hear them, it was tangible. So I would love them to do the semi-finals and the final if they can, to experiment and see where we can go with supporters at the Scottish Cup, and hopefully, because as you say, people are going to be too negative about that and say we're not getting in then for the next season. But it can't be like that. There has to be some kind of watershed moment where they say, right, we're going to let you say 10, 20, 30% of fans back into the crowd. They have to.
I agree with you massively on that. I really do, and I think fans need hope. They need encouragement. A season ticket is not a cheap thing. It's not. It's no cheap. Especially when you look at a lot of families perhaps haven't made as much money in the last 12 months as what they would have before via furloughs or redundancies. We've seen that left, right, and centre. So when you're making that commitment and spending that sort of money, I think you do need to do it with a basis of knowing what it is you're paying for. And like I say, I just think that it's got to be pitched and positioned in a optimistic sort of manner. Because if clubs were to obviously they're losing out on the match day revenue now, right? Because nobody's obviously in the grounds buying all the usual things that you do there. But you're also then looking at, if they were to still be missing that and selling less season tickets, you're going to be back at a situation where you're needing philanthropists and all that coming in to help Scottish football all over again this summer. And, we don't want that, do we? Ideally.
We don't want that. There's been a few comments, and I think there's going to be 12,000 at Hampden for the Euros. I think that was their plan. And I think what we've got to actually realise that there is a reason that these are called test events.
Yes.
So everybody goes in, it's for the track and trace to actually see what happens after it. So we're going to need these events in Scotland. Now, UEFA have got control of Hampden Park for the Scottish Cup final. Now, there's not a Glasgow team left. Why don't they use Celtic Park for the semi-finals and let 500, 1,000 fans in? Use it so we can actually get the data, build up the data, so we can actually see where we can go for next season. I think that's what we really need to use. I mean, it is worrying. It is worrying there's a lot of households have got 3 or 4 season tickets. I've got 2 season tickets here. And am I going, well, if I'm going to need to watch it virtually again, am I going to buy 2 season tickets again? Celtic need to do the morally, ethically right thing, behave like a big club and be transparent with what they want to sell us for next season.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think, Tony?
Spot on, Kevin. Aye, of course. I mean, that's how a big club would act, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You come out and you see, you nailed it there. Roadmap your journey with your fans. Would appreciate that a lot more, and I'm very interested as to what Dominic Mackay's first, address will be. His first Gettysburg address will be, because it's bordering on biblical now because everybody's like, right, he's going to have to say something, nothing short of, Moses with a tablet. China, everyone's like Dominic, right? And
how disappointed are we going to be when it's a scripted Jerry McCulloch interview? How disappointed are we going to be when? And that's not a go at Jerry McCulloch. That's just a go at how the club media sometimes works.
And the more it goes on, I think the more Dominic's like, for my next impression, I'm away, But, you build this up and build it up, Dominic Mackay should really be thinking, okay, I'm going to have to address them in some shape.
Face the music.
Sooner or later, and tell them what's happening. But, the more he doesn't speak, the more it does get built up.
Mm-hmm.
The more it's kind of, he got to tell us something monumental, and I'd rather for Dominic Mackay's sake that he comes out, and just ease himself in and say, right, here's where we are. This is where we're going. As Kevin says, we're taking this step, that step, and that step to get you all back in, and people would be fine with that, wouldn't they? The fans would be like, right,
Absolutely.
you know, just as you say, to use your expression, calm everybody down. It's bordering on hysteria at the minute, isn't it? No, the manager, he's no spoke, he's wearing a blue tie, he's driving a blue car. Oh, don't care. It's like, calm down.
Tranquilo.
But I'm going to put this one to Russell. Brian Conway comes in on the comments. For me, the first fans allowed in Celtic Park should be Celtic fans. Play the semi-finals elsewhere. Russell, what's your thought on that?
Well, I would be more on your side, I think, with that one, Kev. I think it's important because it's for the benefit of Celtic fans in the long run. If we're getting more events being tested for fans' admittance, I wouldn't particularly be remotely frustrated if it was a Scottish Cup final that was the first time Celtic Park's gates opened, and you know Celtic obviously can't be participating in it. It wouldn't faze me in the slightest. I think to be honest, we need to be pulling in the same direction here. With regards to getting the stadium open to a certain amount of fans, and that includes Celtic, pulling their weight as well. Whether that means it's not Celtic fans involved or not, it's for the greater good, and it will naturally have a knock-on effect of benefiting Celtic fans anyway. The more test events we can get done that pass whatever parameters are that it gets judged on, that's what we want to see. So yeah, I don't think the time for pettiness is now, to be honest with you, and I just think that's a trivial matter that really shouldn't come into our thinking when the most important thing is to get fans back in, and we need to play our part in doing so. Every
football fan suffered, not just Celtic fans. Every football fan, if you can get any fans into Celtic Park, as Russell says, doesn't matter who they support, it's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
We've all suffered. This is a time when you say the family, the football family and community of family, it's not about any particular club's fans. Every one of them has suffered. We've just all suffered without a diet of football. So if you can get any fans enjoying a moment and having a diet of football, and as you say, it will reflect better on yourself, and also it will move things forward and get you back as quick as possible, then I'm all for that, because it's gone beyond Celtic fans or Rangers fans or who's the most important fans or who's got the most fans. You're just talking about the actual act of fans being in a football stadium and enjoying what they love best, a game of football. So whether it be Accies fans, Motherwell fans, St Johnstone fans, Kilmarnock, St Mirren, I don't care. If they're going into Celtic Park for a semi-final, good luck to them, good on them. I hope they get that chance. I'd love to see them get that chance.
Me too.
For me, you need to see the bigger picture. Lads, that's been a quick hour. So I want everybody, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe below. Click the like button. Thanks for everybody in the comments for your input today. I mean, I thought we might have been struggling for stuff to talk about because we never played at the weekend, but we're in an hour. Russell.
Kev, this is the shortest show me and you have done in about 3 months, mate.
Oh,
we're usually on for about an hour and 40.
Wait till tomorrow night. Wait for Screamer Celica tomorrow night. Screamer Celica's back tomorrow night at 6:30, and we're going to be looking at Celtic 3, Inter Milan 3. Under Ronnie Dyler.
From Cadetti to Gadetti.
Yes, well done. Well done. I like that.
Not a jetty.
Not a jetty. No yet. Well, maybe next season a jetty. We'll get into that. So thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all later. Hail.
Brilliant. Enjoyed that.